Alright, and we're back with part 3 of my journey through Path of Exile's new Incursion League as a lightning trapper Saboteur. Last time I finished leveling and I was finally ready to start mapping, so of course the first thing I did was to go back to Act 9 and finish the one quest that I skipped while leveling. Then I did my daily master missions to get some reputation with Haku and Elrion, before switching over to Elrion's hideout, because it didn't make an awful lot of sense to use Tora's hideout since I'm not really focusing on her, so I wouldn't be able to upgrade it as much and invite in more masters for more dailies and generally just more convenience. And then I jumped straight into maps, starting off with Beach, then I moved on to Graveyard, then I did the one that I probably like the most and I usually shape as well, which is the Lookout, and I finished it off with the Dungeon, where I found my first Uber Lab trial as well. It was the Trial of Swirling Fear. And aside from the trial, it was pretty uneventful. I didn't get any drops, I just got a couple of maps and some currency. And then I finally decided to try Merciless Lab. Now, some people are asking on the last video, why didn't I do it before killing Kitava? Which is something you might want to do, because every time you kill Kitava, whether it be the Act 5 or the final Act 10 version, you will lose some resistances. So it makes sense to do it before you lose those resistances rather than after. And the reason I didn't do it is because I felt like I didn't have enough health for how clumsy I can be at times. So I was worried that if I were to get hit by something like this, I would die, which is exactly what happened. And this right here is why I don't play hardcore. So I was like, okay, I need to get more life, so I chaos spammed this helmet to finally replace the helmet that I've been wearing since Act 4. And it wasn't anything spectacular, it just had a decent amount of life and an open suffix, so I was able to craft on some resistances through Haku. I also wanted to get more percentage life, and kind of the only way to do it was to roll it on a jewel, because I was close to 3 jewel sockets but didn't get any good jewels up until this point, so I didn't take them. So I alteration spammed a jewel and I didn't hit a single life roll in like 100 alterations, which was pretty upsetting. So I went back to mapping, but one thing that started to happen as I was slowly going up in tiers is that I was getting shit-faced really hard. And it took me a while to realize why, because I was like, well, I do have low life, so I'm gonna get one shot every now and then, but I have acrobatics, phase acrobatics, and I have a lot of evasion, or do I? So I opened the defense screen and my chance to evade is like 16%, so I was like, okay, so that's why I'm getting shit-faced on a regular basis. And it was all because of the chest piece I got last time, because while it had an awesome life roll, it had like 115 life and 10% increased maximum life, it was an armor ES base, so I had no evasion coming from my chest piece, which is where the majority of your evasion usually comes from. My damage was also starting to go down a little bit, so I finally plugged the character into Path of Building and ended up switching the charged trap support for added lightning support instead. So I was now running Arc with the trap support from the Deerstalkers, added lightning, cluster traps, and trap and mine damage. Though my timing was pretty terrible because I ended up getting a temple in the very next map, so I was running around the temple with unranked added lightning. So that wasn't the best thing in the world, and the temple also ended up being a bit of a dud because I got the dexterity jewel again, so that was a dupe, and I got a somewhat okay-ish hybrid ES chest piece and a pretty mediocre wand. Pretty much the only good thing that I got from the temple came from the new cartographer's room, which is locked behind the maps, and it was a Vaal map that has a very cool roll on it. It basically gives any item that drops in the map a chance to be corrupted, which is insane because one of the corruptions that can happen is that you can get a 6-link, which would be insane for solo self-found. So I was really excited to do this map, specifically the Incursion, because at this point they were spewing out mad amounts of items every time I did them. So of course I went in and I died and couldn't clear the full Incursion, though luckily I did manage to clear the majority of it. So I cleared out the entire map, and the only sort of good thing that I got was this helmet, which wasn't even corrupted, and it was somewhat similar to the one I was wearing, but it had far more evasion, which is what I wanted at this point, and it also had some cold resistance with an open suffix, so I immediately linked it up, and I was trying to get the right colors, which was 2 green, 2 blue, and yeah, it didn't happen. It didn't want to go 2 green, 2 blue, so it's currently still sitting in my stash, and I'm still trying to chrome it. So that was a bit of an unfortunate situation because I'm currently still using my helmet for my single target setup on the lightning spire trap, so I went back to mapping to hopefully get some more chromes, and I found the Trial of Stinging Doubt. This was also when I finally picked up Mind Over Matter because I just needed that extra effective HP, so I dropped Wrath, I picked up Clarity, and finally spec'd into Mind Over Matter on the tree. And that felt really good, much better than before, because not only did I have more effective HP, and I don't think I actually died since I picked up Mind Over Matter, which is good, but I also had far more unreserved mana, so I wasn't as restricted when it came to throwing traps. So, you know, pretty much typical Mind Over Matter, where the only downside is that if you get hit really hard, you might not have enough mana to do something about it. So I just kept mapping away with the intent to level up a little bit because I didn't really have enough mana for the amount of life I had for Mind Over Matter, so I wanted to level up, pick up the mana nodes behind Mind Over Matter, and then try Merciless Lab again. So I finished the desert map, and then another one of my favorites, which is the iceberg. I really like the snowy theme on this one, to a point where I don't actually shape it so that I get more of them, because I found that once you shape it, you don't actually get a ton of them, so I keep it unshaped so I can run it whenever I feel like it. And this is where I got the final big node that's behind Mind Over Matter, so I went into Merc Lab again, and this time it was way smoother. I even decided to kill the gargoyles, which I didn't do last time, and then I kind of stuck around and killed the fonts as well, just so his arrow would be as easy as possible and I can actually make it through without getting one shot, which was pretty unlikely at this point because I do have acro and phase acro with some evasion and a decent amount of mana with Mind Over Matter. And I wasn't quite sure which node I wanted to pick up, but I ended up taking Born in Shadows, which makes you immune to blind, reduces damage taken from blinded enemies, blinds nearby enemies, increases your damage against blinded enemies, and gives you a 25% chance to blind on hit as well. This is really strong with a setup like this because blinding an enemy reduces their chance to hit you by 50%, and this stacks on top of evasion and dodge, so it's super strong with a character like this that relies on evasion and dodge, and even if they do hit me, they will still do 10% less damage, which is awesome as well. This was a really awesome upgrade because pretty much within the span of an hour, the character went from having a low effective life and constantly getting shit-faced by everything all the time to having much higher effective life and pretty much never being hit because the enemies were blinded. This made me really happy because the character finally started to feel good again, just like it did while I was leveling, which it really didn't in the beginning. Basically, up until I finished Merc Lab, it felt pretty terrible because I was constantly getting chunked for most of my health or just straight up getting one shot. And I sort of finished the day off by doing another temple, which was unfortunately a dud as well. I got a pretty terrible dagger, I got a worse version of the gloves I'm wearing right now, and I got another one of the Vaal flasks, so that's the third one I got now. And that's pretty much all that happened on my first day of mapping with the Lightning Trapper Saboteur in the Path of Exile Incursion League. It started off pretty bad, then it got much better, good even, and we ended up on a bit of a dud. And let's finish it off once again with the skill tree. So it's basically the same thing, I just picked up Mind Over Matter with the smaller nodes behind it. I'm picking up some of the smaller life nodes, so I have more life. I started making my way over to this jewel socket, and I want to pick up this one and this one as well. And I'm thinking about dropping these 3 power charge nodes above the witch starting area, because now that I've dropped charged traps, I lost the crit multi from power charges, so they're not as strong, and I think I would rather use these 3 points somewhere else. And that's it, so I thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I hope you have enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.
Another lost. No matter. The void will provide. Insignificant.